Hi, my name's Maxine Burgess and I'm in CIS 110, and today I'm going to open up this desktop here and identify the parts. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is to make sure that this is in a position to where we can get to the motherboard. So in order to do that, we lay it down on its side here. And all of our connections here are on the bottom, which indicates to me that the motherboard is on the bottom where it needs to be. And it needs to be on the bottom so that we can move things out of the way in order to get to it. So now I'm going to open up the case. On this one, we have a couple buttons on the side that we have to depress and kind of lift up. And then we ought to be able to lift the case. Lift it all open. So now we have our case open. The first part that I'm going to identify is the power supply. And of course it's an important thing because it supplies power to the rest of the components in the system. And here we have our power supply. Do I need to take it out? Okay. Next, we are going to identify the motherboard, which here on the bottom, we have a tab here that we can lift, and we should be able to slide the motherboard out as indicated here. Okay, we'll push this back in. The motherboard, of course, holds the components, the guts of the machine here. The next part we're going to identify is the CPU or the processor. And on this unit, here we have a cowl over the cooling fan here. And then in front of the cooling fan here we have this part, the heat sink. And so
like this? Go that way. Go ahead.
Okay. Oh shoot, that was a little rough, but here we go. I have the heat sink here, and down here we have our processor, our CPU, and it's the director for the system. It tells everything what to do and how to do it. So here we'll put the heat sink back on, and the heat sink here is in front of the cooling fan because the air blows over the heat sink, which takes away the heat from the processor, which is really important because it generates a lot of heat, and too much heat and things get wrecked. So we go with that. The next part I'm going to identify is the RAM. And here we have two RAM units. We have these clips on the side here that we need to depress. And you see the RAM board comes out. Pretty easy there. Here we have, you can see the various connections. The end where all the gold connectors are, you need to avoid touching because the oils on your fingers can cause corrosion and it will destroy your RAM. Okay, we'll put this back into the slot, and you need to rock it back and forth like a seesaw, and you need to put a little pressure on it, and as you notice the clips, they came back into position, so it's seated in there correctly. The next part we're going to discuss is the PCI expansion slots here. Here we have 4 white ones, and then we have a green one. Here we can put extra video cards or other components to upgrade. The next part, we'll go to the outside of the case here and identify some of our connections here. And over here, in this first section here, we have connections for the bottom one for the microphone, the green one's for headphones, and then the blue one is audio in. Okay. And then the next row here, we have our Ethernet port at the top, which is, well, if you plug it in where you plug it into the wall to a phone line for your internet. We have USB ports here. We have lots of them. You can plug in different peripherals in there. The next, we have old style ports for monitor for the keyboard and mouse. Nowadays we use USB because it's faster, so you're probably not going to see much of that. And then the next section here, we have video ports for monitor. The upper port here is an old style port to plug in a printer. Of course, we don't really use that anymore. We use the USB because it's faster. Next, we're going to address some of the storage drives here. The first one we're going to look at is the hard drive. So the first thing we need to do is to disconnect the cables here. So I'll pull out this ribbon cable here. And then this connector, which is not going to be gentle with me. Okay. Now we will lift out the hard drive unit here. And then the other side of it, there's all the circuitry and stuff that you don't need to touch with your bare hands. The hard drive is the main storage area of the computer. This is where we keep all of our data, our pictures, our music, and whatever else we want to save. So we'll put this back in here. And you should be able, it drops in there and you hear it click, which means it's back in the right position. Okay, next we have floppy drive, and we will disconnect it. Okay, here we go. Now this is the floppy drive. We really don't use these anymore because their space is very limited. And to access the data on board, they're very slow. So this is kind of an old technology. Let's see if I can get this back in here. The same thing with that, you can hear it click. The next drive we're looking at here is the DVD CD drive. Yikes. Alright, we'll disconnect it. Oops. Come on. Okay, here we are lifting out the DVD CD drive, and this one you can also write to, so you can record or you can access data off of it, or stuff like that, or play movies. This one goes in like the rest and gets to a point where it snaps in. All right, well, my name again is Maxine Burgess, and this is my take on the inside of a desktop computer. Thanks for watching.